Okay, people, welcome back to another Fwoosh 5 Fridays. As always, I'm Robo, and today we're going to talk about Star Wars. Now, you guys know me. If I could, I would talk about Star Wars every day. I would review a Star Wars figure every day, but variety is the spice of life. It's just not all Star Wars. But specifically, today I'm going to get into my top 5 wants for the Star Wars Black Series line. Now, if you watch the channel, you know my deal when it comes to my Star Wars figures. I like them 6-inch. And I like certain companies to give me certain types of characters. For the droids, for the troopers, I love my Bandai model kits. When it comes to the human characters, it's SH Figure Arts. Mafex is so unreliable. I like some stuff from them. They're Boba Fett, amazing. They're up and down. You can't really trust Mafex. Sometimes, yeah, but I don't know. And then the Black Series fills in everything else. Aliens, some droids here and there. Their human characters are okay, but they have a problem with likenesses. The sculpt is there. We've seen repaints time and time again that proves that the sculpt is underneath that thick G.I. Joe-like paint. But when it comes down to it, everything that comes out in the Black Series line, I end up buying. It comes out first, usually. Hasbro's got the jump on everybody else. And then later on, an import may come along, replaces the Hasbro figure. Nothing wrong with that. More fodder for that day that I get back to customizing far in the future sometime. But for army building troopers, some of the armored characters, and then the aliens. The aliens is where the Black Series really shines. So for my top 5 list, that's what I'm going to concentrate on. It's going to be mostly aliens with a few surprises. Now, when I came up with this idea, I made a list of about 50, and it was very hard to break down to just 5 characters that I really want in the Black Series line. This is today's want list. If you ask me tomorrow, it'll probably be something completely different. I could have put Dengar on here. He'd be a good one for the Black Series because it's not really a likeness. Without going and looking at a picture, try to see what Dengar looks like in your head. And you have a generic look to him, kind of a Johnny Cash look to him, is what I always hear, with some bandages over his face. But if you were asked to sit down and draw him, or pick him out of a lineup of 5 dudes dressed like Dengar, you'd be hard-pressed to pick the exact one, unless you're just super hardcore. And I feel that I'm kind of a Star Wars junkie, and I probably couldn't do it. So, Black Series would be good for Dengar. I also culled Zuckuss from the list because I don't feel like he's going to come from any other company. He's on that bounty hunter list, and I feel like Hasbro will eventually get us that whole group. But runner-ups, let's start with Jar Jar. Don't judge me. Don't you sit there and judge me. Even though he's more than likely the most hated character in the Star Wars universe, he would make a dynamic looking figure. Plus it's Jar Jar. He was through most of the prequels. He played an important role, both good and bad. So, yeah, I need a Jar Jar. And then for my other runner-up, I feel like I could have a lot of runner-ups, but I'm just going to stick with these 2. I'm going to go with Sidon Athano, the Crimson Corsair, the Blood Buccaneer, the Red Raider. You don't know how many takes that took to get without looking over at the laptop. But again, another dynamic character. We don't know a lot about him. He's kind of the Boba Fett of The Force Awakens. Cool looking. The red would be striking on the shelf for sure, even though we are getting the Royal Guard here soon. Another red character, just dressed completely like this with a cool looking helmet. Yeah, I need that on the shelf. That would be very cool. And from what I hear, even though I haven't went and read it, his backstory, his story, very intriguing. He almost made the top 5, but my love for the original trilogy just won out at the end of the day. For number 5, remember me talking about the human likeness thing? They don't really have it down. I'd prefer, like, SH Figure Arts to get human characters. Forget I said that for about 2 minutes, and let me pick Grand Moff Tarkin for number 5. Like I just said, I would love the human characters to all be made by Figure Arts, but Tarkin doesn't seem very high on the list for any of the import companies. When it comes down to it, Hasbro will be the one to give us a Grand Moff Tarkin. He doesn't hold a gun, he doesn't do anything more threatening than pointing and giving the order to blow up planets, but it's Grand Moff Tarkin. We need him in action figure form. And if it's going to be the Black Series, so be it. I will take it gladly and have him standing up with Vader and Krennic, giving him a little Now, I know the Black Series isn't known for reusing bodies, even though it could have it a couple of times, but with Krennic out, and with the rumored Death Squad commander coming in the whole 40th anniversary thing, early bird reproduction pack, whatever, I don't know, there could be some reuse if needed to get a Tarkin out. I just need a Tarkin, please. Number 4, I'm going to cheat a little bit and make it a 2-pack, because my list, my rules, I'm going to break them. And that would be Ponda Baba and Dr. Evazan. I always said Evazan whenever I was a kid. Apparently it's Evazan. It feels weird coming out of my lips now. It's Walrus Man and Ground Beef Face. Even though they weren't very prominent characters in the original trilogy, their appearance does make me want action figures. They had lines, they had interaction with the main characters, and that makes me want them. Got one of their arms cut off. Plus, spoiler alert, they just showed up in Rogue One. So that's a little bit more exposure for the characters themselves. They're dynamic looking, Walrus Man especially. And again, Dr. Evazan, he's got half a human face, but just like I talked about Dengar, you wouldn't recognize him in a lineup. It's not a prominent actor playing it. You couldn't name another movie that he was in, or the actor that actually played him. Or maybe you could. Maybe you're smarter than I am. I don't know those kind of things. And when it comes down to it, it's just a generic looking face, but your eye focuses on the hamburger meat on the other side. I don't know how it would work as a 2-pack, but let's try some new things. It'd be better than the Greedo and Han pack. For number 3, it's another pronunciation nightmare, and that would be Nine Numb. Now I know some people say Nyan Nyan, or I don't know how they say it. I'm looking at you. You know who I'm looking at. We had this argument last year. The actor himself says it was because on the character sheet it said number 9, and when it came time to make up a name for the character, they just went Nine Numb for number 9. And then the old commercials, that's what always stuck in my head because that's where I first heard a lot of these names.
Now there's a brand new action figure not yet available in stores. It's Nine Numb.
You can get Nine Numb free with 5 proofs of purchase from any Star Wars action figure.
It's Nine Numb, but he co-piloted the freaking Millennium Falcon. That makes him deserve a figure more than anything, really. Hanging out with Lando, their back and forth was hilarious. I just love how the character laughs, talks, looks, everything about him. Yeah, we need a Nine Numb. For number 2, we have Jabba. We have some other Return of the Jedi characters. Why not throw Bib Fortuna in here? Again, as a kid, I said Bib Fortuna, and I thought it was a woman. I don't know why. I have no clue why I thought it was like that. Maybe it was the head tails. Made me think hair. I was dumb when I was a kid, okay? But Bib Fortuna, another dynamic looking character. The costume has to be Black Series because it's either going to be a soft plastic overlay or it's going to be cloth. That's the only way to get around robes like that. Soft plastic for the head tails. The likeness, again, would almost be a problem because it's the Black Series. But in the prequel appearance of Bib Fortuna, looked a little bit different. So, again, likeness. Picture it in your head. Can't, hardly. Can, for the most part. Painting the eyes would probably be the biggest problem. But everything else, yeah, I think this would turn out great for a Black Series figure. And finally, for number 1, I went back and forth for days. I couldn't decide if I wanted Grand Admiral Thrawn. I really want Thrawn, but I feel like he's going to be in the line at some point because of all the other Rebels characters that we're getting, or should be getting anyway. They need to finish that line. Or this character, Admiral Akbar. It's a trap! It's just a perfect character for the line. No skin tone, no human eyeballs, just big old goldfish eyes, the head point. You could probably get some of the other characters from his species out of this figure. I think the only big differences were the rank insignia and then maybe a hat on it. But yeah, Admiral Akbar and some of his cronies from that ship, yeah, need it. You need this on your Rebel shelf. The comedic value, you could make all kinds of cartoons with It's a Trap. It would be perfect. They could nail that red color. It's just a white costume. Yeah, so Hasbro, make it so. Ugh, wrong franchise. Like I said, I agonized over this list for several days. Star Wars, my bread and butter. It's my first love. It's the first movie I remember watching when I was a kid. It's the first toys I remember having as a kid. And that love has just continued on for the past 60 years. 30 years. 40? 30. I'm 40. Who cares? Numbers, hard, dumb kid. I apologize. I've just kicked caffeine. My brain's off on its own little joyride most of the time anymore. So, if you like this Fwoosh 5 Friday, comment, like, subscribe. I'll catch you on Fwoosh.